Goop, 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 gooply. Hey guys, how's it going? Today I'm here to talk a little bit about the next generation of consoles. Yes, this is going to be about the Xbox One versus the PS4. Let me start with saying that it shouldn't be surprising to any gamer that most people at this point probably prefer the PlayStation 4 over the Xbox One. And there are a lot of good reasons why. One reason being that the PlayStation 4 is $100 cheaper than the Xbox One at retail value. Coming out this year. The PlayStation 4 will be priced at $399, whereas the Xbox One will be priced at $499 US dollars. And already that $100 difference is a big deal to a lot of people, and probably will push a lot of people towards the cheaper of the two consoles. Now, in the last generation, a lot of people preferred the Xbox 360 versus the PlayStation 3, at least speaking here in North America. Now, I myself am a fan of the Xbox 360. I have tried gaming on the PlayStation 3, I actually have one, and still I find myself just going back to the Xbox 360 for most of my primary gaming. The main reason being that it has a strong online community and an online presence with Xbox Live, and it also has I think the better looking port oftentimes of multi-platform games. What I mean by that is if you're trying to pick up a game, whether it be, let's say, Red Dead Redemption, you are going to most oftentimes find that the Xbox 360 version of the game looks better than the PS3 version of the game. And that just comes down to how the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 4 is made to work, and making it harder for game developers to make a nicer version on the PS3 when they are making the game for both devices. But anyway, that was a tangent. I really wanted to say that in this generation, I'm an Xbox 360 fan, and I prefer it over the PlayStation 3. One of the main reasons I preferred the Xbox 360 over the PlayStation 3 last generation was because it was simply cheaper. I was a broke college student, or at least I was a college student with a job at minimum wage, and because of that I didn't have a whole lot of money to spend. And at the time when I was looking at getting a video game console, I had two choices. It was either the Xbox 360 at the arcade edition, remember that, at $200, or the Xbox 360 Elite Edition at $300, or the PlayStation 3 at $400. So given those choices, I had to go for the cheapest option at the time, so I did go with the 360 Edition arcade because I really couldn't afford anything more, and the fact that I was able to get a console at $200 at the time and be able to play the best games available, arguably, was a big deal, and that's why I chose the Xbox 360. And to this day, I still enjoy it. But definitely, price was a factor then, and price is still a factor for me now, in the sense that I am definitely going to go for the cheaper of the two consoles, especially if I don't see an additional value in that extra $100. So one reason is the cost. The other reason that I like the 360 over the PS3 was that there was a strong online presence in Xbox Live. What I mean by this is if I wanted to play a game, again, I'm choosing a multi-platform game, a game available for both PS3 or 360. If I were to take that game and try to play it online, you will always find that there's a stronger or a higher number of people playing online or being active online on the Xbox equivalent of the game versus the PS3. Now, this can be attributed to the fact that Microsoft, with their first console of the Xbox, pioneered playing online. They really made online gaming a standard for consoles, which did not exist before that. That could just be flowing over to the Xbox 360. But that was something I really liked about the Xbox 360 that I never was satisfied with the PlayStation Network when I did get on, because there were just more people active, whether it be gaming or talking, or just being able to connect with one another was just a lot easier on the Xbox 360. Now, I gave you a little bit of the reasoning behind why I chose the Xbox 360, the last generation. Now, this generation, we have the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One. The two factors that I mentioned about the last generation are still important to me, but there are other things that are thrown into the wrench that make me perhaps choose the PlayStation 4 this time around as opposed to the next generation of Xbox. The number one reason will again come down to price. The Xbox One is priced at $499 and the PS4 is priced at $399. It's a $100 difference. Guess what? The cheaper console is always going to be more lucrative. It's going to be hard for me to get the Xbox One if I'm not convinced of the extra $100 value in the Xbox One versus the PlayStation 4. Another factor is that according to what we know already regarding the processor and the components of the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox 360, it seems like the PlayStation 4 has a more stronger built-in architecture at this point. Now, given the consoles are not out yet, not all the details have been released, so we really don't know all that we can know about the PS4's processor as well as the Xbox One's processor and the GPU and all the different components and how they play out in terms of performance. So I don't want to jump to the gun just yet too much on this point, but as of right now, it seems like the PlayStation 4 architecture, the way it's built, is going to be a lot easier to program for or to make games for than the Xbox One. They have taken really, Sony has taken a big step here in trying to address the needs and concerns of game developers, which last time around with the PlayStation 3, a lot of people, or a lot of game developers complained that it was just too difficult to make games for, causing games to look better on the Xbox 360 than they did on the PlayStation 3, at least when it came to multi-platform games. The Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 do have basically a very identical architecture, but the PlayStation 4 seems to be a little more simpler, and not just that, the PlayStation 4 also seems to be slightly more powerful. As to how much more powerful and how that'll affect gameplay, well, that remains yet to be seen, but at this point it seems like, from what we know, that the PlayStation 4 offers the more raw power and more ease of use for game developers as opposed to the Xbox One. Another big difference between the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One is that the Xbox One has a Kinect packaged in when you purchase it. This could possibly be accounting for the extra $100 when compared between the PlayStation 4's $399 price point, but the fact that they're packaging in a Kinect, I don't know how I feel about that. While in one hand I think it's a great idea because that will let game developers who want to take advantage of the Kinect to feel comfortable that every Xbox One owner will have a Kinect, and therefore making their investment in developing for the Kinect worth it. I don't know if I am fond of the thought of a camera that's always engaged and always active in my living room, and I don't like that it is required to be connected to the Xbox One at all times for it to function. That really aggravates me as a gamer. The reason is I don't like that I have to carry around the camera, the Kinect camera, with me if I wanted to get the Xbox One and go to a friend's place to game. This is not appealing to me. It would be a lot like the Wii is or the Wii U is, and I really don't want that. I really like that about the Xbox 360 or the PlayStation 3, this generation, is that I could just put the system in, dump a couple of controllers, dump the power cord, go to a friend's place, and set it up and good to go. Not worrying about space limitations, not worrying about how the TV is placed and whether there will be space for an extra sensor to be put around it. So I'm not particularly fond that they've set it up to where Xbox One requires the Kinect to be connected at all times. I really wish that Xbox One, while they want you to get the Kinect or have the Kinect packaged in, I don't really mind that as much. It really bothers me that it requires to be connected at all times. If they could set it up to where the Kinect can be separated and the Xbox One can be used without the Kinect plugged in at all times, that would be just a whole lot better for me to swallow. So as of right now, not a big fan of the Kinect. Sorry to belabor the point, but if Xbox One can set it up to where the Kinect is not required to be plugged in for the Xbox to function, I'll be all the more happier. Ideally, I would like for them to just do away with the Kinect, at least make an option for people to buy an Xbox One without a Kinect, and possibly even make it cheaper and therefore more competitive with the PlayStation 4. But as of right now, that's probably the biggest stickler for me, to not get the Xbox One and instead go with the PlayStation 4, besides the price point. Now, in terms of launch titles coming to the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 on release date, it seems like the Xbox One seems to have a more wider set of Xbox One launch titles. The Sony PlayStation 4 definitely does not have a weak launch lineup. They have some decent set of a few games that are available, but the Xbox One just seems to have a couple more, and a couple more that are made by third-party developers, hence making it a little more diverse. Again, we don't know the quality of these games, and these games aren't out yet, so we really don't know how much these carry value, at least initially. So I don't want you to decide on a console based on the console lineup too much. Again, these are day one titles. These consoles are set for the next 5 to 10 years, and so really you don't want to judge a console based on its console lineup, because if you did that, you would have really gotten a lot of different impressions over the last generation of consoles as well. Another big factor to consider in the console wars for next generation is online strategy. Sony will really need to revamp their online strategy for PlayStation 4 and for PlayStation Network this time around. This point was brought up by Adam Sessler, a gaming journalist for Revision 3 Games, in a recent Q&A that I watched on YouTube, and I think he raises a good point. For example, I am a passionate online gamer. I love playing multiplayer. I actually play multiplayer tremendously more than I do single player, and for that reason I like the Xbox 360 and I loved Xbox Live. There was never a shortage of people to play with or connect with on Xbox Live, especially when compared to PlayStation Network. Now, Sony is going to allow for cross-game chatting on PlayStation 4, so that's good news for Sony PlayStation fans. But I really want to see Sony elaborate more on details regarding their online strategy for PlayStation Network on the PlayStation 4, especially now that for online gaming on the PlayStation 4 you are required to have a subscription to PlayStation Plus. Now, PlayStation Plus is a great package of its own in the sense that it offers you free games on a regular basis and you're able to get a lot of great discounts on games, but I want to see how paying for online gaming on PlayStation 4 offers me a competitive product when it's compared to Xbox Live. Really, my hope is that as someone who's leaning towards the PlayStation 4 as of right now, I hope to see that PlayStation Network will become very much like Xbox Live and a very fierce competitor to it in terms of online activity and online services offered on the platform. So guys, those are, I think, some of the biggest factors that I want to address in the console wars in the PlayStation 4 versus the Xbox One. You probably guessed from all the thoughts that I've shared and my points of contention that I've shared in this video that I am leaning towards the Sony PlayStation 4 rather than Microsoft's Xbox One at this point. For that to change around, really what I want to see is hopefully a price drop, which probably won't happen this time around with the Xbox One before launch. Even more so, I think if Microsoft can just come out and say, hey, you don't need to have your Kinect plugged in at all times for your Xbox One to work, or if they can just release a patch saying that that is no longer needed, guess what? I'll be more than happy to look at the Xbox One as a serious contender versus the PlayStation 4 for me. But right now, with the PlayStation 4, with its lower price and no additional peripherals needed, seems to be the more obvious choice for me at this point. Another point that I forgot to mention that I have to add in this video is support for independent games, or indie games rather. PlayStation 4 and Sony seems to have a more friendly stance towards independent games and publishing of independent games. In fact, Sony PlayStation 4 are going to allow game developers to self-publish on the PlayStation 4. Just like how people can make apps and submit it to the Apple App Store now, Sony is going to try to make it that simple for game developers to make games for the PlayStation 4. Whereas with Microsoft, they have a less independent structure for the Xbox One, and independent game publishers or independent game developers are going to have a harder time publishing their games on the Xbox One, at least as of now. That's another point that goes to Sony, that if you're an independent game developer, you're better off going with the PlayStation 4, at least as of right now, than the Xbox One for developing your game. So that's really neat, and that'll offer another slew of great games for the PlayStation 4 in comparison to the Xbox One. So again, guys, those are my thoughts right now. PlayStation 4 seems to be the choice for me right now. Now there are 4 months at least until either of the consoles release, probably, and so a lot of things can change, as history shows us so far. So I don't want to say I'm sold on one versus the other, but the PlayStation 4 is my console of preference right now. So what are your thoughts, guys? I know a lot of people right now are really favoring the PlayStation 4 versus the Xbox One for a lot of the reasons that I've shared. Are there Xbox One fans among you? Are there people out there that are going to get the Xbox One and not get the PlayStation 4? I'd really like to hear your guys' thoughts and share maybe more points that I've missed, or maybe your points to counter what I've shared in the sense of why you would prefer the Xbox One over the PlayStation 4. Guys, for now, my verdict is PlayStation 4. Thanks for watching. If you really enjoyed this, please like this video or comment down below with your thoughts, and please subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video with your friends, as it really does help me out and help me put out more videos on Gooply. Thanks for watching, and have a good rest of your week, guys. Gooply.